Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the Worry-Free Retirement, with your host, nationally recognized retirement specialist and four-time author, Tony Walker.
Welcome, folks, to the Worry-Free Retirement. And yes, I am that little man in the sweater vest, retirement planning specialist and fiduciary, Tony Walker. And boy, have we got a great show today as we cover on our topic, what is something really worth when, not if, when you go to get it. But before we get into this show topic, we got to go to Shannon Ross because in her own words, this is going to be
humdinger.
Oh, speaking of humdingers, this past weekend I had the privilege and pleasure of heading up to beautiful French Lick Resort in French Lick, Indiana. So a shout out there from Tony Walker and the gang. We played some wonderful golf there at the Donald Ross course and also the Pete Dye course. Funny, when I went up there, I walked into the Donald Ross course and all my buddies were with me. And of course, a nice fellow there was checking the bags in. And he had to know our group name and then our individual names. And he asked all the names and he came around to me and I said, my name's Tony Walker. And he stopped and he looked and he goes, hey, aren't you that guy on TV? And of course I proudly said, well, yes, I am. To which he responded,
you're a lot smaller in person, boy.
All right, enough of that. That's why I do tell people I am the little man in the sweater vest. Okay, as we record the show on July 26th, 22, we got a lot of stuff going on as a result of a government lockdown due to COVID. We've got government spending that is spiraling out of control. And then finally, we got gas prices at the pump that are putting a real crimp in saver style. So what happens is through all of this and products and stock markets and bonds, we're going to talk about all this. Through all of this, what happens is people forget the reason they saved money in the first place, and that was so they could spend it. But there's a huge problem when it comes to retirement, and that's when to know when to spend the money, and also making sure that the money you're going to go spend, that's those investments you've been stockpiling money into, is really worth what you're hoping they are worth. So today, we're going to have an interesting show. This is one you need to stay tuned for because there's many misconceptions about retirement planning and products and where to invest the money. And what you're going to find out is every financial tool and product you can think of comes with a cost. The key is knowing those costs and also what is it going to cost you to get your money when you need it. I'm Tony Walker. Good stuff coming your way. You're watching the Worry-Free Retirement. We'll be right back. Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. In meeting with over 15,000 people in person, now this is going to surprise you. You know the biggest mistake I see people making with their money in retirement? Guess what? They wait too long to spend their money. In other words, they get into the second half of life and realize that things are slowing down, they can't travel, maybe they've lost a spouse, health, etc., and all of a sudden they're not spending money. So here's the reason I think this happens, and I came up with actually 5 notes to think through. This is the live well, die broke philosophy that I preach, but basically the reason I think most people do not spend their money soon enough, in other words, they wait too long to spend it, is they don't have a written game plan. You see, without a written game plan, how in the world are you, and hopefully you got an advisor that understands retirement planning, how are the two of you going to sit down and know exactly how much you can safely spend without the fear of running out? I don't think it's possible. This is why we at Tony Walker Financial offer our free proprietary written game plan to do just that. Number two, here's another thing I've noticed. It's kind of weird. It's called the law of diminishing returns, but it's really accurate. This is weird, but the longer you hold on and stockpile money, actually over time, it becomes worth less. Possibly because of the second half of life issues, possibly because of inflation. But you can bank it. If you keep putting that money off and don't spend it, it actually will be worth less to you. Number three, one of my mentors in the past, a PhD in economics, Shelby Smith, once said, Tony, remember, risk and reward are traveling companions. Now, what did old Shelby mean by that? It was a great truism, and it's true today. The more growth, the more gains you wish to accomplish, that means you're going to have to take more risk. So you've got to remember that. And a lot of you are at the age, you're retired, nearing retirement, and folks, you are taking way too much risk with your money. It doesn't have to be that way. In fact, with the Worry-Free Retirement, our goal is try to minimize the risk, but through our written game plan and our expertise, we'll see this in a minute on how to reduce cost, we're trying to get you more money back in your pocket so you can take less risk. That just, to me, makes sense for savers. Number four, I love this one. I did a documentary years ago, literally called Say Goodbye to Granddad's Retirement. And in it, I talked about my granddad. There I am with him back in '78, sitting on the porch with Inky the cat. But I talked about how easy it was for that generation to plan for retirement. First of all, Granddad had his pension provided by Bell South. The pension, as he called it, mailbox money, would last as long as he and Hazel were alive. It was guaranteed. The second thing Granddad had and that generation had was they could run down to the local bank with some spare change and get CD rates of 6, 7, 8% guaranteed. Well, folks, you don't have that anymore. All the more reason you need a trained retirement specialist to help you in retirement. And finally, number five, I love this one. Folks, there is no such thing as a free lunch. My biggest concern right now is a bunch of annuity peddlers out there, and there's tons of them. They're promoting these bonus annuities, which again, in the right circumstance, these are powerful tools and can be used properly, but they're touting bonuses of 10, 15, 20%. And as we'll see in a minute, they're explaining nothing to the poor old consumer about the potential costs, the fees, the lack of accessibility to these monies. So folks, be careful with these bonus annuities. What I would suggest, if somebody's pitching one of these to you, contact us for a second opinion on annuities. In fact, what you could do right now, if you really want a great resource, we've been doing a lot of annuities for years. It's called Annuities Made Easy. You can drag this off of our website and download it at TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Or if you like, you can simply call the toll-free number on your screen and ask for Annuities Made Easy. We will be happy to get those to you. Okay, on our next screen here, that was shown this years ago by a gentleman by the name of Don Blanton. Changed my world in terms of understanding cost, and it's so simple it's ridiculous. But basically what this is saying is there's really four costs of money: taxes, fees, insurance premiums, and of course interest you might be paying on your money. So let's look at what happens on a dollar bill. Let's say you go out and earn $1, okay? The dollar bill hits, as Mr. Blanton refers to, as your circle of wealth. Now let's say on that dollar bill you say, I'll put 10% of that, or 10 cents in savings. I got to save for the future. Good for you. Then all of a sudden you say, well, wait a minute, I'm looking at my dollar bill here and it's shrinking because I got all these costs. I've got taxes, I got fees, I've got interest. Most of you don't even know what those costs are, but when we tabulate those, in most cases, it's a minimum. Now this is a minimum. It's a minimum of 50 cents of every dollar you earn, you'll never see it. So this is powerful stuff, bear with me. And then finally, what's the purpose of money anyway? Well, the purpose of money is to one day save it, right? But for the future, we're trying to use and enjoy it. So look at this graphic. What's wrong with this graphic? It's funny, the 50%, the cost, is going to other people more than you're getting. And not only do you lose the dollar, you lose it forever, which means you lose all of the interest and all the possible enjoyment you could have had on this money. Really scary stuff, and something we at Tony Walker Financial try to do. We're trying to help our clients reduce those costs, so then they have options. They can either save the cost we're going to save them, or they can, of course, spend and enjoy the money. But either way, that's a whole lot better than just giving it away to others. Now, our next graphic is kind of interesting here. We're going to cover bonds and 401ks in more detail, but I'm going to kind of go over the different types of investments we might have at Tony Walker Financial. All of these we offer, other than the 401k is really not an investment. But of course, we offer bonds and CDs and cash equivalents and annuities and stock market products and life insurance. but all of those products come with a cost. All these products are good, Tony, but what does this have to do with your theme? What happens to the money when I need it? Well, this is it. Why would you need it? Now, this is just a few examples, folks. But again, as somebody that's working with people all the time, or as Gomer Pyle used to say about life, surprise, surprise, surprise. Here's the things I see come up frequently. Let them roll here, Derek. This is interesting. The death of a spouse. People don't realize that in most cases, when a spouse passes away, the Social Security goes down. You might lose part of a pension. You might have had a huge amount of benefits that had to be paid because of health care costs. You might decide to downsize or change your lifestyle. But believe me, folks, a lot of times money is needed when a spouse passes away. What's another need that might crop up? Speaking of downsizing, man, this is happening all the time with my clients. They're retired and they're wanting to move or whatever. And then they're realizing, hey, wait a minute, if I move out of this home I've been in for 50 years and go buy a patio home, the patio home costs more than this home. I'm going to have to maybe take more money out from different accounts to afford it. That would be an example. Number 3, a new car. I don't know about you, but have you priced new cars lately? Okay, you might want to think about that. Kids and grandkids. Had a couple in yesterday. We were looking at their game plan, and I asked how much money they had in the bank, which last year they had about $50,000, and it was about $25,000. And I said, hey, what happened to the other $25,000? Adult child got married. So things do come up for the kids and grandkids we didn't plan on. And finally, we've mentioned this earlier, but just medical cost. The cost of prescription drugs or the cost of going into a nursing facility, whatever those might be, that's when you need your money. So when you have things like this that can come up, you got to ask yourself, well, what will the money be worth if I have to go drag it out all of a sudden? Well, when we come back, we're going to be talking about 2 products, if you will. We're going to be talking about bonds, and then we're also going to be talking about the cost to get money out of your 401k when you need it. Good stuff coming your way. I'm Tony Walker. You're watching the Worry-Free Retirement.
With the uncertainty of the stock market, our nation's debt spiraling out of control, and inflation running rampant, now may be the best time to consider moving your 401k to safer territory. My name is Tony Walker, and for over 38 years I've made it my life's mission to help savers worry less about money, and I want to help you too. To speak with me at no cost or obligation, why don't you log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or simply call the toll-free number on your screen.
Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. We're talking about this idea of what is something really worth, listen, when, not if, when you need it, which is a huge unpredictable issue when you get into retirement planning, which is why you need a game plan and a retirement specialist to help you with the wins. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on bonds, and a lot of people are wondering, what's up with bonds? As we record this show on July 26, 2022, the value of bonds is plummeting. Now, before I go over this demonstration of what's going on with bonds, a bond is basically you being the lender and you're loaning your money to an institution or a municipality for a certain number of years. That's called the duration. In exchange for that, the municipality or whoever it is that's borrowing this money from you agrees to a set amount of interest for the entire amount of time during the duration. Okay, so let's go to an example of this. Somebody came to me with a list of bonds this broker had purchased. And they were purchased a year or so ago, but you're going to see this gets a little ugly when you think about what if I need my money. So the first bond, this person put in $10,000. Now we're going to stop right here. It has a maturity date of 2051. What that means is this bond is going to pay, let's put up the interest, Derek, 2.25% guaranteed until 2051. Sounds good so far? Now, what's the problem though? Think about that. 2.25%, heck, we're getting 4% on fixed interest annuities. That's not a very good interest rate because interest rates from the Fed have gone up, which lowers the value of the bond. So let's look at the damage here. They've lost 23%. And you say, well, Tony, that's on paper, isn't it? What if I don't need it? Well, you're fine. But what if you do need it? That means you're only going to get about $6,600 on your $10,000. So the next time somebody selling bonds complains about annuity surrender charges and all that, this can be devastating in the wrong interest rate environment, which we're in right now. Bond B, I'm looking at the sheet here. Little different, the maturity date is less, okay, 2035, and actually the interest rate's a little better. So let's stop right here. If you had $10,000 and you were going to buy one of these bonds, you'd probably go, hey, in today's interest rate environment, I think I'd rather have 2.75 versus 2.25, and I don't want all my money tied up to 2051. I'll do 2035. Well, that means it is a better bond, and let's see the value of that. So year to date, this bond was down 6%. Still a loser, but down less because the duration was shorter and the interest rate was a little higher. But still, what would you net if you had to sell it? You'd only get about $9,000 for this bond, okay? Not real good. So you might be saying, well, Tony, what are some safe options that are kind of like bonds but don't have these long durations and tying up my money for years? Well, we turned to a Mr. Ibbotson, a well-known investor who wrote this about fixed indexed annuities. In fact, he had noticed after studying the differences between fixed indexed annuities, by the way, this was in 2018, so it's probably gotten much worse since then, but fixed indexed annuities, which are very, very safe and offered by Tony Walker Financial, by the way, have actually outperformed in most cases bonds. So there you got your alternative right there. For more information on fixed indexed annuities, we'd be happy to talk to you. Just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, click on the Let's Get Started, or give us a call. We'll be happy to talk to you about those products. All right, let's walk over to the whiteboard here. And you might be saying, well, 401k, Tony, that's not a product, is it? No, it's not a product, but it sure is devastating to try to get money out of that thing when you need it. So what I've done here, this was an actual case I was working on recently. This person came to me, they were retired, they had about $300,000 in their 401k plan, not a lot in savings, I see this a lot. People have got way too much money in their 401k plans, and that thing is tax infested. Now they're drawing their Social Security. I think this gentleman had a little bit of a pension, but as usual, what happened was the old home has gotten too old. It's got 2 stories or it's got 14 acres and the guy's tired of mowing it or whatever, and they want to go to a new home and downsize. By the way, Aaron, is that a pretty good drawing of a home or what?
Yeah, that looks just like my house. Although, I will say my house has a chimney. You got to put a chimney on there, Tony.
Oh, chimney? Absolutely. There we go. Now we're talking. Okay, so let's just say in this example, they sold their current home for $200,000. And again, at the time, there was no debt on this home. You follow me so far? This is an interesting case. Now they went out and found a townhome, patio home, whatever, something that fit the bill, better location. However, the patio home was $300,000, meaning basically they're $100,000 short and they don't have that kind of money in savings. So they only have 2 options here. They can go to the bank, which the bank would gladly loan them the money. Again, as we record this show, what are interest rates? 4 to 5%? It's a little higher than it was just a few months ago. So that didn't really sound too good to go out and borrow $100,000 when they were just out of debt. So then they said, hey, Tony, we got that 401k we're going to roll over to you. How about taking it out of there? And I said, you can if that's what you want to do. But let's look at the damage here. So if you take $300,000 in the 401k, okay, and you take out $100,000, first of all, that's not enough money. And you say, well, $100,000 debt, why not? Because you owe taxes on this money. Remember this tax-infested 401k plan, folks. People have been using this money all along. Wall Street's made money on your money. The government's just licking their chops waiting to get those tax revenues. And when you take it out, it goes on your return. And the problem is this $100,000, we may have to take out our staff. We have people certified in tax planning at Tony Walker Financial. We'll calculate this for you. We may have to take out, depending on your tax bracket, $140,000 just to net the 100. In other words, $40,000 is going to Uncle Sam. So you might look at this and you say, Tony, I haven't really thought about this. I haven't thought about all these costs of money and when I might need money. And that's the whole point, folks, of why you need a retirement planning specialist. You see, at Tony Walker Financial, we've been doing this for years. It's not just about where you invest the money, it's what happens to that money after the money's invested. If you don't have a written game plan, if you're not working with fiduciaries, if you're just buying products from product peddlers, down the road, this is going to come back to bite you. I can assure you that. So here's what I would recommend doing right now. Why don't you log over to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, and when you get there, click on that Let's Get Started button. And what's going to happen is we can schedule a free 10-minute fiduciary phone call, whereby myself will talk to you about your situation to see how we might help. And if it proves that we can help you, we are going to set up a personal, in-person appointment with me, the owner of the company, and I can meet you at either our Bowling Green, Louisville, or Lexington, Kentucky offices. So do it now. Log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or simply call the toll-free number on your screen. Well, what does the Bible have to say about cost and figuring out which choices to make as we trek through this thing called life? Some good stuff coming your way from the Bible. Whoops, need another cup of coffee? I'll be right back.
Tony, I did a little research on you before I came in today, and I know that you're one of the largest producers of annuities around. But then when I looked into annuities on the internet, it seems like there's some negatives about annuities. Can you walk me through why they're good?
Yeah, I'd say when you say some negatives, actually, if you Googled annuities on the internet, probably more bad than good. Unfortunately, most people that talk about investments anymore come from kind of the investment world or Wall Street. Annuity products are not Wall Street products, so there's the rub right there. Annuities are issued by insurance companies. So insurance companies and Wall Street, if you think about it, they're kind of competing forces. So annuities are built for what I call the saver personality. They're not really investment products. Annuities are there to protect principal. They're to make sure people don't run out of money for retirement planning specialists such as ourselves. They're excellent because we can sit down with a saver, especially somebody who's retired or nearing retirement. And for the most part, depending on if they want what I call mailbox money, we can tell them exactly how much income, exactly, guaranteed, they're going to have for the rest of their lives. Now, if you look at it that approach, you'd say, what's not to love about an annuity? So you got to understand there's a lot of people out there that do not like annuities because they don't sell annuities. They're selling products that maybe have a little more risk and possibility for growth, but a lot of the clients we work with are savers. They don't like taking a lot of risk, they want more certainty, and annuities are excellent for those types of folks.
That makes perfect sense. And, people like to find information on the internet. Is there a better place to get more information about annuities?
Well, and I am very good at annuities. We've proved that we know what we're talking about. So I would encourage people to go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, TonyWalkerFinancial.com, and just download our free Annuities Made Easy guide. I think that will help people understand these products much better.
For additional information and scheduling your free, no obligation appointment, go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
Let me ask you a question. Would you say that in your own personal view of God that you are someone who is fearful of God or someone who is faithful to God? Our theme these past few weeks is a financial truism the Bible refers to as sowing and reaping, which basically means the harder you work and save, that's the sowing part, then in the future the more you should expect to enjoy, which is the reaping part. Yet, in all of this sowing and reaping, there's an important point we in the financial world often forget or fail to acknowledge, and that is who needs to get credit for our reaping of what others have sowed. An important truth that hits home with me personally as I realize that others are trusting their life savings to me. This trust that others offer me and my firm is a very humbling point indeed, and one that I never want to forget. That is, you're the one sowing, we get to reap. That's because if it weren't for you doing the sowing, me and my staff would not be doing any reaping. Our livelihood depends on us taking care of savers, but in order to do the job, we must always remember that this is your money, not ours, nor the financial institutions in whom we place your money with. You are the one that is working hard to make this money, and it is you who gives us, the financial world, the privilege of getting to manage it and reap where we have not sowed. In fact, the financial world has become so good at reaping what they did not sow, sometimes it gets downright embarrassing as you see how much money they're making on your money. Take this money manager who charges 1.5% per year on your money and just go back to the 2008 crash. Notice how much more money they would have made on your money than you did. And keep in mind, there was no sowing on their part. So in the end, actually, money is the money you created, you sowed, and then we get to reap. So with savers so graciously handing over their money to the financial world, you'd think the financial world would be so appreciative that they would bend over backwards to assist savers in managing their retirement and doing the best they could with that money. But sadly, that's not always the case. In fact, the Bible warns of this happening as we see in John 4:37, where it states that one will plant or sow and another will reap. In the book of Micah, this same admonition appears in chapter 6, verse 15, where it says, God goes on to say that you may never reap what you have worked to sow, which is why you as the saver must not only understand the rules of the financial game, but you must also, as the Bible describes in Luke 16:8, be shrewd when dealing with people and money. Which might explain why so many advisors, including yours truly, can afford to pay good money to broadcast their retirement messages on TV, on the radio, by internet ads, host educational events at colleges and universities, and yes, how in the world can all these advisors spend upwards of 10 grand a pop for free dinner seminars? We can all do it because we know that you have money, and yes, we are able to reap where we do not sow. So besides learning to be more shrewd with your money, what else can you start doing to reap more of what you've sowed? Well, I've got some good news there. Well, my name is Tony Walker, and for 38 years, I've made it my life's work to help savers worry less about money. Well, how do we do that at Tony Walker Financial? Well, as we've talked about today, one way we do this is to reduce or minimize costs. By reducing taxes and fees and other unnecessary costs puts more money in your pocket. Another way we do this is by taking much less risk. Because if you're retired or nearing retirement, we got to ask ourselves, why in the world at this stage of the game would you be willing to take so much risk? Which is why I created something called the Split IRA concept. And with this concept, what we can do through our Charles Schwab platform is offer you liquidity, that means access to your money, at very low fees, and also the opportunity, if you so choose, to grow your money if you're willing to take the risk associated with it. And then on the back end of the split IRA concept, we have those annuities, both accumulation, income, you name it, we are well versed in the world of annuities. So before you rush out and blindly invest your money to a complete stranger or fall for one of those too good to be true sales pitches, why don't you get a second opinion from us at Tony Walker Financial? And here's how this works. What you do is you go over to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and click on that Let's Get Started button. Your information is then confidentially sent to our offices, and we will contact you to arrange a free 10-minute fiduciary phone call with myself. That's right, the owner of the company is going to talk to you about your specific situation. Then, if I feel that it warrants and we can be of help to you, we then are going to set up a one-on-one meeting, that's right, in-person meeting, to discuss your situation and then provide you a free assessment, free game plan, something you've never seen before of how we might help you better position your money so that you can enjoy it and without the fear of running out of it. So take advantage of this free offer right now. Go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call the toll-free number on your screen. Well, we've enjoyed being with you today. We look forward to seeing you next week on the Worry-Free Retirement. But between now and then, if all else fails, you be worry-free. Make it a good one.